This is RF from the Country Lunch Show on WOOL 91.5 FM. Let's get back with more of our interview with Paleo Mountain Man and Budcat 7.
And where I happen to live is right on a line, a ridge line where giants had been found. In the past 100 or so years, they found a few skeletons, not too far from
And
where
it's
I live.
probably a magnetic line at that.
And it's a ridge line, sure, that goes north and south from Mount Escutney, which is a big isolated mountain that sits right on the river valley, Connecticut River Valley. South of that is where I am, where it's right on the river valley, on the Connecticut River Valley too. And it's connected to it through ridges, a set of ridges, and it's like a line. And this is a spiritual place. They did things probably on that site that they didn't do other places, to that
Yeah,
magnitude.
different areas of the wall systems were dedicated for different uses. So, whether it be administrative, spiritual areas, work areas, living space. I mean, all these things are incorporated into stone walls because, as I say on my channel and as I show on the LiDAR imaging, that these walls were completely contiguous. They were all connected to each other in large grid
Yeah,
areas.
something big was going on. A lot was going on because it's almost like it was so long ago. You're just seeing the remnants that are left of something that was even larger, and you see the
But
giant.
the stone, the walls, the chambers, the effigies, they all speak to a highly organized society. So,
Continuous.
the level of organization to, build the walls, build the chambers, build the effigies, design these areas to be
And
useful in specific ways are all evident
they
in the
had
walls.
they had their own culture. They had their own way of dressing, their fashion. They had jewelry. They had, I'm sure,
Pottery.
their favorite foods. They had probably places they went out to eat. They were that type of people. They had a civilization. You don't
And it
create high
shows
art.
also
Hunter
it shows
gatherers don't
also
create
that they
high
had a
art.
much cleaner diet as well.
That's what you keep
Their
saying. I believe
diet.
I believe you're right. They weren't us. They were a little bit different than us. They had our emotions in a lot of ways. They had our abilities, but they had abilities that we don't have. And just the fact that the detail I find carved into quartz is so fine and so small, you would think that you'd have to have really good eyesight to see it. I use my camera to, blow up the images.
Enhance it, yeah.
It's the only way I can see them. Without the camera, I couldn't do it. And all I do is really take the photograph under certain light. If you use a side light, the relief will come out, and you'll get images from the stones that, first you identify the stones, and then you take photographs of them. You study the photographs, and then you manipulate the contrast to try to get the images so, you can see them clear. And they just pop right out. I don't have to create any images. They pop right out. I just manipulate the lighting effects so you can see them better. And it's crazy.
Well, it's clear that these people, must have practiced their art, and just as they trained their, their young, their children in, hunting practices, growing practices. They also taught them, wall building, the astronomical
Geometry, mathematics.
right. They taught them all of these things, and part of the daily practice over there might have been, carving and working with stone. So you could conceivably see, wow, all the warriors, all the hunters were out hunting, and the women were taking care of the agriculture. The children were back with the grandparents and the aunts and the uncles, learning essential skills, learning essential survival skills, learning artistic skills.
Yeah.
These things
And
would have to be learned over a period of time. So I could see maybe a group of the children of these people sitting in the area by your house over there, removing white quartz and practicing art, with an
and
instructor, let's say,
maybe
and
these.
making all of these artifacts that you find all the time, Jimmy. And you could think in your mind, well, if they practice this on a daily or a weekly basis over thousands and thousands and thousands of years, well, there's going to be a lot of artifacts laying around,
Well,
and many of these may just be, part of their daily rituals, their daily practices where they do these kind of things. Obviously, if they made pottery, a lot of these people. They find a lot of pottery with the Adena, the Hopewell, the Mississippian cultures, et cetera, et cetera. Well, pottery is a craft, that's something that you have to learn, and then they decorated them, they painted them with flowers and animal motifs and geometric designs. Those are all things that need to be learned and passed on. So there must have been a lot of practice and a lot of training going
you,
on
you
in
know,
all of these areas.
what's funny, Dave, is I don't find any pottery, no shards, nothing, none of that, and I don't find arrowheads.
That suggests to me that's why this may be the earlier culture
That's
than
why,
the
yeah,
Adena or
exactly.
the Hopewell.
It's exactly earlier, and not only is it earlier, their imagery is earlier. Hopewell and Yadina, they didn't have a lot of mammoth imagery, but these people, everything is a mammoth. Everything's a serpent. These were different people of a different time and a different age that ended. And I know it ended because it's not here anymore. And they had a civilization. They had myths, they had stories, they had legends, they had heroes, they had all of that. And it was so long ago that it's not remembered even by the Native Americans. They remember it in certain stories, in certain ways, but even those stories are very old and were told over thousands of years. The local Native American tribes here go back 10,000 years. And
And they carry some of their mythology. They carry the serpent with them. They carry some ideas that were passed on to them from these
oh, they
people.
carry a lot of them. A lot of their culture comes directly from it. Their headdresses,
Absolutely.
their way of being, a lot of their stories comes right from it. They were here when all that was happening. It's not that they weren't here. Their culture goes back 10,000 years, and they don't remember that farther.
Right.
We're talking before that. There's a whole time period before that we're
Well, it seems
talking.
that they slowly integrated into the Native Americans, and this is why we find all the stories about the large chiefs.
Yeah, they lived
Many of
together.
these tribes had supersized chiefs, so we know that they integrated into the Native American
Isn't that a
tribes,
common
and
story? Um,
yeah,
I know listening to your videos, that's a common theme where the chief
very
chief
common.
was a very tall, handsome, gentleman or whatever, very tall, always
And we
bigger
have
of stature.
evidences of this, right? We have evidences of this in modern times with the
Right.
Watusi tribe in Africa, with those tribes in the Fiji Islands,
And right
the
here in
Pacific
Vermont,
Islands.
where they found skeletons that were very tall.
Right,
Right
right,
here,
common.
not just in Vermont, but everywhere in the country. But
Everywhere,
right here where
every
we're
state.
sitting, they found them. And this was a while ago, but they did find them here. And they did roam this area at one time. And when there were megafauna on the earth, when there were mammoths, when there were things like that, there was also a vast array of people. Um, some looked like us, some didn't look so much like us. And who knows what else. It really was here. And
And
I,
what other kinds of weird animals there were? There were a lot of weird animals from the
sure.
past that part of the megafauna.
There were a lot of lions, cats, bears, scary animals, And
And I think things we can't even imagine. Things we can't even imagine because they existed back in the Pleistocene and the early Holocene, and then they went extinct.
well, the ones that we
And
know about, like the cave bears, were 11 or 12 feet tall. Uh,
with
and I think they were
short
even
spaced
taller than
hair.
that.
Yeah.
The cave bears, and that's just one predator they had to worry about. And you probably have to be large in stature to survive in a place like that.
And that's why you would create a giant megacity that's all walled in by
That's
stone
right. That's
walls.
a
I
good
mean,
idea.
that would be part of the protection from those large animals, living in such heavily concentrated areas.
I think about it sometimes if, those creatures still existed and, how I would not walk in the woods like I do now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't. You have to plan on where you if you had to go from point A to point B, you'd have to plan it because you wouldn't want to be alone and face a predator in the woods. You want to
And hence
protect
the
yourself.
safety of the stone wall areas. That would be a safety
People probably
area.
congregated, stayed together like at night, around the fire type of thing. If you
Well,
live
I think they had guards. They probably had guards all night long in the periphery of these
and that's why you
areas,
stone the wall.
But
The stone walls didn't have openings in them, I think too. Could be.
right. Well, I
And
think a
who
lot of
knows?
the areas that didn't have openings in them had specific purposes, but even so, I mean, living in such highly concentrated areas with a lot of people, even wild animals sort of get the message that it's not safe for them to go into those areas either. Animals are pretty smart, and once they're hunted by these people and everything, I'm sure the animals figured out, hey, don't go to those areas by the stone walls over there because you're going to get killed.
Hey guys,
So,
I'm gonna break in here, okay, for station ID
sure.
and stuff, and we'll see what's going on. Right now, I'm sitting here with Paleo Mountain Man. What's your website, Paleo Mountain Man?
Paleo Mountain Man on YouTube.
And Budcat?
Stonewall Research, Bugcat 7 on YouTube.
Okay, we'll be right back.